whatever the request I'm going to send, that is in the form of query. For that I require structured query language. Query the database. Query means what? Request. That means user can able to prepare the request or query the database in a number of ways. Suppose if I want to delete the table or if I want to delete the structure of the database, in that time I can go with drop command. Hello to all, a warm welcome to my new session on fundamentals of computers, and the chapter name here is Introduction to SQL. I am Revati from the Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram, First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. So dear student, before going to start my today's session, let's revise the topic which I have covered in my last session. So dear student, in my last session we learned what is database. So what is database here? That is nothing but collection of related data. Along with that we learned database management system. So what is this database management system? It's a software used to manage database. Along with that, we learned file system versus database management system. There is nothing but the difference between file system as well as database management system. Along with that, we learned application of database management system. That means where we can able to find database management system. There is nothing but in schools. If I consider supermarket, banking sector, online transactions, all those things, we can able to find the use of database management system. Along with that, we learned database user. That means the different kinds of database user, that is application user, database administrator, sophisticated user, native user, all those things are example for database user. And these are the topics we learned in my last session. But in my today's session, at the beginning, I'm going to deal with what is SQL. Along with that, I'm going to deal with SQL data types. Along with that, I'm going to deal with the different types of SQL commands. Anyway, dear student, let's start with our today's topic, that is SQL. So what is this SQL? Why I require SQL? So dear student, if I want to get any data which is stored in the database, I require some media. That means I want to communicate with the database. And how I'm going to communicate? By using structured query language. That means whatever the request I'm going to send, that is in the form of query. For that I require structured query language. So here SQL stands for structured query language, and it is mainly used to access and manipulate database. Suppose if I want to interact with the database, I require some communication media. For that, I'm going to use SQL. By using SQL, I can able to access the database. At the same time, I can able to manipulate the database. For this reason, SQL becomes a standard of the American National Standards Institute, and it is introduced in the year 1986 of the International Organization for Standardization that is ISO in 1987. So here SQL become a standard of ANSI. Along with that, it's also become ISO, that is, it's also certified as ISO. Moving further, I'm going to have SQL. So what is this SQL? Here SQL stands for Structured Query Language. Now dear student, suppose if I want to communicate with my friend, how I'm going to communicate through some language. It may be English, or it may be Kannada, or it may be any native language. And if I consider database management system, okay, in that if I consider database and if I want to communicate with the database management system, I require some language. And which language I'm going to use here? That is nothing but SQL. So whatever the query I'm going to form, that is in the form of SQL. So it stands for Structured Query Language. It is mainly used to store the data as well as manage the data in the relational database management system. Dear student, what is relational database management system? Here all the data are stored in the form of relation. So what is relation here? There is nothing but tables. When I say it is tables, the data are arranged in the form of rows and columns. It is a standard language. So here SQL is a standard language for relational database system. It enables the user to create the table, read the data, modify the data or update the data. Along with that, delete relational databases as well as tables. That means by using SQL, the database user can able to create a database. They can able to update the database. They can able to read the content from the database. Along with that, they can able to delete the database. So here all the database, that means all the RDBMS, that's nothing but relational database management system like MySQL, Informix, Oracle, MS Access as well as SQL Server uses SQL. So here if I consider database management system, which are the software I'm going to have? That is nothing but MySQL or Oracle, or I'm going to have MS Access. All those things are accessed by using SQL. That means if I want to interact with Oracle or MySQL, I require structured query language, and this is the standard database language. That means the most commonly and most frequently used database language here is SQL. So here SQL allows the user to query the database. Query means what? Request. That means user can able to prepare the request or query the database in a number of ways, and whatever the query or whatever the request I'm going to prepare, that's in the form of English statement. Moving further, I'm going to have the different types of data types which is supported by the SQL, like programming languages. In database management system also, we are going to have data type. So what is this data type? I require data type to identify particular kind or type of data. For example, think that I'm going to consider my name Along with that, I'm going to consider my age. Now, if I consider age is nothing but the number, and if I consider name, it is nothing but the text. Okay, now to identify the kind of data, I require data type. If I consider my name, it is nothing but the text. So the type of the data here is text. And if I consider age, it's nothing but number. So the type of the data here is number. For that, I require data type. And in SQL, I'm going to have string data type, numeric data type. Along with that, I'm going to have date and time data types. So dear student, anyway, let's see these data types one by one. So at the beginning, I'm going to have string data type. And what are the different types of string data type I'm going to have under SQL? That is character. Suppose if I want to read or if I want to get any text or any character, then I can able to use character data type. So it is used to specify a fixed length string that can contain number, letter or any special character. So when I define character along with the size, then I can able to have only fixed size of character. So here character may be a text or a number or a special character. For example, if I write care of 5, then I can able to have only 5 character. Now, where care along with the size. So it is used to specify a variable length string. So it is mainly used to specify the variable length string. For example, where care of 20. So variable length character. Now binary along with size. It is equal to character but stores binary byte string. So here binary is equal to character. Instead of storing character, number or special character, I am going to store binary byte. And where binary of size, once again it is equal to where char. Instead of storing variable character length character or number or special character, I am going to store only the binary byte, that is variable binary byte, and I am going to have text along with size. So it holds a string. That means here text is also responsible for holding a string that can be contained maximum length. So it is capable to hold 255 characters. So it is capable to hold text. And what is the length here? 255 character. Moving further, I am going to have my second type, that is numeric data type. So numeric means what? It is nothing but the number. When I want to play with the number, then I can able to use numeric data types. Under numeric data types, at the beginning, I am going to have bit. So what is bit? I can able to have either 0 or 1 or null. So it's an integer value. I can able to have 0 or 1 or null. And I'm having tiny int. It allows whole number. That means I can able to have whole number and the range is 0 to 255. And if I go with small int. It allows whole number, that is nothing but complete number, and the range is minus 32,768 to plus 32,767. If I go with integer, I can able to have whole number. Even big integer is also used to read whole number. And float. Float means what? I can able to have fractional numbers. And real. Once again, it is a floating point precision number. That means when I have the values like 3.1214, these are example for floating point or real number. This is nothing but the fractional values. That means I am going to have the integral part as well as fractional part. Along with that, I am going to have the third type of data type here is date and time. There are certain situations I want to know the date as well as time. For that, I am going to have date. That means this function is mainly used to specify the date. It is mainly used to specify the date, and it is in the form of year, month and day. So how I am going to specify? The format here is first year, then I am going to get month and I am going to get date. And if I go with date time, I want to get date as well as time. In that time, once again, the date format here is year, along with that month, along with that date, along with that I am going to have hours, minute as well as second. And if I go with time, then the format here is hours, minute as well as second. And if I want to know the year, then I can able to use the data type year. It is used to specify a year in 4 digit. That means if I want to specify the year, that is 2022, then I can able to use year, and it's going to take 4 digit format. So dear student, all these are the different types of data types which is supported by the SQL. Here SQL commands are classified into 5 different types, that is DDL, DML, DCL, TCL as well as DQL. So what is this DDL? Data definition language. Under data definition language, which are the commands we are going to encounter? That is create command, drop command, alter command as well as truncate. Under data manipulation language, I am going to have insert, update and delete. Under data control language, I am going to have grant as well as revoke. Under transaction control language, I am going to have commit, rollback and save point. Under DQL, data query language, I am going to have select command. So these are the different types of SQL commands. Anyway, dear student, let's see what is data definition language. That is nothing but DDL. It's not DDJ. It is DDL. So here, what is DDL? Here, DDL changes the structure of the table. Suppose if I want to change the structure or style of the table, then I can go with the DDL. That means if I want to create any table, or if I want to delete any particular row or column, or if I want to add any extra field, then I can able to use DDL, data definition language. So here DDL is mainly used to change the structure of the table, like creating a table, deleting a table, or altering a table. Now all the command of DDL are auto-committed. So all the commands which is present in the DDL are auto-committed, means what? Automatically saved. That means it permanently saves. That means when I use DDL commands, after that it's going to save the changes permanently. That means whatever the modification or whatever the changes I'm going to do, that is saved permanently. And some of the DDL commands are create command, alter command, drop command, and truncate command. So dear student, from the examination point of view, this is very important topic. Moving further, let's see the first command comes under DDL. So here the first command, create. Why I am going to use create command here? To create a table. It is used to create a table in database management system. That means suppose if I want to create any table in my database, I am going to use create command. Then what is the syntax? Listen here. Create. First I want to use the command name called create. Along with that, I want to write the keyword table and I want to specify table name. So here this table name, it is left to the user. That means it is user defined table name. User can able to specify any table name. Along with that, I want to specify the column name and data type. For example, think that I am going to create student database, and in my database I must have the fields like roll number, name and mark. Okay, now my table must look like this. That means my table name is student and I'm going to have the fields like roll number, name and mark. For this I want to write the query. That is, I'll write create table, and what is my table name? It is student. Now, so what is my first field? It is roll number. Then I'll consider variable character of 5, comma. After that, I have name. It's also varchar of 20. Afterwards, I'm going to have marks. It's of type integer. Okay, this is the way I can able to write the query. So here, create command name, table is a keyword, employee is nothing but the table name, fields are name, email address and date of birth. And if I consider name, it's of type character, so I'm going to take variable character. And if I consider email, once again it is character, So I'm going to consider variable character. And if I consider date of birth, it's nothing but in the form of date. So I'm going to consider date data type. So dear student, moving further, my second command here is alter. So what is alter? Suppose if I want to modify or alter the structure of the table, then I'm going to use alter. So it is used to alter the structure of the database. This changes could be either to modify the characteristics of existing attribute or probably to add new attribute. That means by using alter command, I can able to modify the existing table or I can able to add one more field. That means I can able to add new attributes. And the syntax here is, first what I want to do, I want to add new column. And how I'm going to add that is, I want to specify the command name, that is alter table. Okay, here table name is student details and I want to add address. That means whatever the previous example I considered, there I had only roll number, name and mark. For same table, I want to add one more field, that is address. Okay, in that situation, what I'm going to do, I'm going to modify the existing table. For that, I'm going to use alter command. Moving further, I'm going to have drop command. So why I require drop command? Suppose if I want to delete the table or if I want to delete the structure of the database, in that time I can go with drop command. So it is used to delete both the structure and record stored in the table. That means it's mainly used to delete the structure as well as records stored in the table. And how I can able to use drop command? That is drop table and table name. So here drop table and my table name is employee and I want to write the semicolon in order to indicate this is the end of the query. Now I'm going to have my last type of command under DDL, that is truncate. So what is truncate? It is used to delete all the rows from the table. So dear student, there are certain time I want to delete certain rows from the database. For that, I am going to have truncate command and it is mainly used to delete all the rows. Okay, I just want to delete all the rows from the database and I want to free the space containing a table. I just want to remove all the records or all the rows from the table. In that time, I'm going to use truncate. So here, truncate table and table name. Example, truncate table and employee. So I'm going to delete all the rows or I'm going to remove all the rows from the employee in order to free the space. These are the some of the commands comes under DDL. So which are the commands comes under DDL? Create, alter, drop and truncate. These 4 commands are comes under DDL. Anyway, dear student, in my today's session, I started with what is SQL, along with that SQL data types, along with that the different types of commands comes under SQL. But in my next session, I'm going to deal with data manipulation language. Along with that, I'm going to deal with data control language. Along with that, I'm going to deal with transaction control language. Anyway, dear students, let's meet in the next session with the new topic. Until then, keep watching and keep learning. Thank you.